Today on Under the Big Tree, part 2 of my series on building a performance-oriented modular synth, the case. Hi, and thanks for joining me here again. Today, we're going to unbox the MDLR case that I ordered. But first, I want to go through my thought process as to why I chose this particular case. This is part 2 of our series. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, and you want to get a better idea as to what I'm trying to accomplish, then please feel free to check that one out first. It's okay, I'll wait right here. Okay, let's start this journey with the housing of our instrument. By its very nature, modular synthesizers need to live in a case of some kind. You need to have rails of a standardized size and screw hole, so you can easily mix and match modules from different manufacturers that all adhere to the Eurorack standard. You need to have power to supply the modules, of course, and it should be big enough to house your current modules, with some room for expansion. Not that I ever buy or build new modules. I'm sure you don't either. So, as previously mentioned, my current Eurorack system is wonderful for studio use. It is currently racked up in 4 Deptford low-cost cases, 2 of the LC9s, which have 3 rows and a width of 84 HP, and 2 of the LCBs, which are the bases that sit under the LC9s, and have 2 rows and a width of 84 HP as well. All told, this gives me a total of 840 HP of space, which is an awful lot. I've stained the cases with a rich brown wood stain, which looks far nicer than the nude unfinished wood. These cases are great, with Deptford's excellent linear power supplies built in. But they just aren't portable. They're for studio use only. And I want a system that can be used for live performance, as well as going over to other studios and recording with other Eurorack enthusiasts. But I don't want all my modules to be part of that system. I want plenty to stay behind in the mother ship, staying permanently in my studio for recording in conjunction with the performance case. I really didn't want to get a case that wouldn't fit my needs, both now and in the foreseeable future, and so I gave it a lot of thought. I wrote down the features that were important to me. I wanted one case only, so it had to be big enough to house everything I would need in a performance-oriented modular synth. Once it got filled up, putting in a new module meant swapping out an old one, so it really had to be big enough to hold all the modules I needed. On the other hand, the case couldn't be so large that it was completely unwieldy. I'm not anticipating flying with it much, so being able to fit in an overhead compartment was not that important. But I still have to carry it around myself and fit it easily into the back seat of my little Prius C commuter car. So nothing that requires a forklift or is as big as a refrigerator. I wanted it to close while patched. Much of the signal routing in my improvisationally based portable system will stay put together in a semi-permanent fashion. Having to rewire that before every gig or recording session was a non-starter. It needed to have 1U rails as well as 3U. 1U is a great way to keep some of the utility and I/O stuff from taking up precious 3U real estate. Mults, comparators, inputs and output functions, and all sorts of simple DIY circuits are perfect for the 1U form factor. Unfortunately, there are 2 separate specifications for 1U tiles that are not compatible with each other: IntelliGel and Pulp Logic. I absolutely love IntelliGel products, but most, if not all, of the 1U tiles I'm going to be using are ones I'm going to build myself. So therefore, I want to go with the Pulp Logic 1U specification. I wanted high-quality power supplies to ensure the modules get a sufficient stream of clean juice to sound their best. And I wanted to make sure that the power supplies were capable of supplying sufficient current at plus and minus 12 volt and plus 5 volt, so that I didn't have to worry about whether there was enough juice to power my modules. Quality craftsmanship and attention to detail are important to me. So are great customer service. Fortunately, it is easy to find other people's reviews of cases they have on Muff Wiggler. I didn't want a case design that was futuristic or flashy. I wanted a classic, subtle visual design that is timeless and doesn't distract from the primary visual target, which is the performer and their instrument. Finally, it would be great to support a small mom and pop shop, because I'm a big believer in small business. However, I'd want to go with a company that was successful enough that I'd be sufficiently confident that they wouldn't go out of business tomorrow. Finally, there's price. While keeping the price reasonable was important, it was not the primary factor in my decision process. The reason was that I wanted one case that would last me for many years. So in the trade-off between price and quality of components and craftsmanship, I chose quality. So that's a ton of features and requirements to sift through, and so I began to compare every case out there to see which ones met my needs. I looked at websites for every case manufacturer I could find and went through a lot of mental gymnastics to make sure I was getting the right thing for me. I was set for a while on the IntelliGel case, but really wanted something where I could close two halves together patched. Same with the Tip-Top Audio Mantis. Great price, but not the right aesthetic for me. Of course, I thought long and hard about the depth for hardshell cases, and was very close to pulling the trigger on the A100P9 and the A100PB. But then, while searching around on Muffwiggler, I came across a name I hadn't heard before, a small Dutch company called MDLR that was making performance-oriented Eurorack cases. I took a look at a video of the owner, Arjan, showing how his case worked, and I didn't really understand it at first. But then I looked at it again and went to their website to check it out in detail. The fit and finish oozed quality, and I was happy to see that the case was made out of birch, not particle board, and then covered with a very tough black coating. I found my case. After hemming and hawing, I settled on the 14U 126HP Performace Pro case, with 4 126HP rows for my primary modules and 2 rows for the 1U utility stuff. I was certain that I had enough room to build out what I wanted. I started corresponding with Arjan, the owner, who was incredibly friendly and responsive. We settled on using Meanwell exterior power supplies to maximize module depth and minimize heat buildup within the case. I had initially wanted to use the depth for linear power supplies because I already had 4 of them and knew that they were fantastic. But, of course, a performance case is made to be as thin as possible to minimize size and weight, and the depth for linear supplies had both toroidal transformers and big heat sinks, which would limit the depth of the modules I could place in front of them. So, I decided that the trade-off was worth it, and opted for the Meanwell exterior switching power supplies instead. So the case was my Christmas present to myself. Fast forward a couple of months, and it has made the journey from Beverwyck, Netherlands to Sherman Oaks, California. And now, it's finally time to open that box and check it out. Here we are, the moment of truth has arrived. Here's the box itself. It's been sitting and taunting me for the better part of a week, but now I can finally do it. All right, we'll get out all the paperwork. MDLR case, oh boy. All right, oh, by the way, the reason my hand is covered in bandages is because I had carpal tunnel surgery about 10 days ago or so. You can watch videos on that if you want, but my hand is feeling fine, and the bandages are coming off in 3 days. MDLR case bus boards. That's nice. Here it is. The ad for the thing that I already bought. The MDLR case Performer. Alright. These have got to be the Meanwell power supplies right here. Yep. And, I gotta say, for a switching power supply in a box, that's got some nice weight. That feels pretty hefty. I think I can understand why it is that people are okay with using these kinds of power supplies. It definitely feels quite a cut above the normal general sort of cheesy power supplies. All right, so it's got the standard IEC connector, and then it's got a cable with DC connector on the other end. Looks like these feel good to go. So what we have here is a textured black surface. There's 1 or 2 layers of black coating underneath, and then there's sort of a rough layer, which I think would repel an awful lot of stuff just there. We can see that there are 4 casters, there are corner safety mounts there. Oh boy. That is just absolutely beautiful. Everything that I wanted as far as the look and as far as the level of quality is absolutely here. Yep. Feels great. The handle is high quality. The box is high quality. The hinges are high quality. Let's see. So this side has got the power for both sides. So a little rocker switch and the DC input right there. Everything has got these butterfly connections. And on the other side, more of the connections. All right, so let's figure out how this comes apart. There's 1, 2, and everything is jet black and very, very slick looking. 3, 4. All right, those are the hinges. So let's put it down this way. There it is. Okay, whew. Smells brand new. Okay. Now this is the inside middle ring section, which is what's so interesting about this design. And this is what I didn't understand when I was first looking at it. So, but before we get there, all right, here are the power strips in here. Here are the bus boards. Boy, that looks like an awful lot of power connections. There's the 1RU rail. Here are the 2 3U rails. Everything, the edges here are steel, and the rails themselves are aluminum. Fit and finish is basically perfect. Same thing over on that side. We can see the wiring going from the outside of the case in. Perfectly safe. There's nothing exposed, and it wouldn't actually matter even if there was anything exposed power-wise, because we've only got 12 volts or 18 volts coming in. Let's see, what do we have coming in? 18 volts coming in. So it's not like if we had the toroidal linear power supply inside of the unit, and we'd have to worry about 120 volts coming in. So that's not bad at all. Everything looks super clean. So now let's figure out how this middle section works. This is what I'm a little confused about. So I went up to YouTube and took a look at Arjan's video on how this works. And Arjan, please forgive me for calling you Arjan this whole time. That is a typical American not knowing the correct way to pronounce your name, but the J appears to be silent. So Arjan. Okay, I've put this back together and now I understand how to take it apart and set it up for performance. So the first thing that you do is disconnect. You detach the top section from the middle ring, okay? And then you can just put that down. You then disconnect the middle ring from the rest of the material, like that. So 2 butterfly switches over there, 2 butterfly switches over there. So now this first part of the ring becomes the stand that the top of it's going to sit on. So we're going to put this back where it is sitting on the other ring, the piece of the ring we haven't removed yet, but we will. And then this goes right to the back. Make sure those butterflies are out of the way. And then, there. So now, this piece, I don't know if you can see it, hopefully, this piece is locked in the back and it is solid. It's not going anywhere. So now, we take the top and we disconnect it from there by sliding it out. Then, this whole section disconnects and moves out of the way. We now take this and slide it back into the hinges like that, and then set it back, and we get ourselves a slightly canted angle on something that connects up to this piece back there. Arjan, I have to say that engineering is just absolutely beautiful, and it's so nicely done. And the fact that you can take it off and put it at a 90-degree angle if you want to is nice too, but that's just absolutely beautiful. And it is solid. Yeah, that's going absolutely nowhere. So now, let's put it all back together so I can show you how it assembles together again. So we reverse our steps. We pull that up, and we disconnect it from the hinges. We disconnect the hinges holding the back ring in place. Then we take this piece, which was the rear piece, the piece that we set aside, and it goes here to be able to support the rear section again. Okay, so once that's there, then we take this, we lift it up, oops, and we connect the two hinge pins. I almost got it. There. Then it goes down like that. Then we spin this around, take this piece, which was the piece that was in the front, and then we were using it in the back, and then we're putting it in the front again to finish holding the case. So that goes there. That butterfly connects the top and the bottom, or the top and the middle. That connects the middle and the bottom. That connects the two side ring elements, and then we repeat the process on the other side. And we are done. And there it is. This is literally smaller than a suitcase. It's about the size, I don't know, might even be able to fit in an overhead. It's not nearly as thick as I thought because of the brilliance of this middle ring design, which allows you to keep it patched up. That was why I wanted to buy this, because this extra 3 inches of gap or so here is going to allow you to have your modules patched up and wired, even with the two sections wired to each other, provided that you've got a reasonably long leads between them as you take this off and move it that way to be able to give it a little bit of room. So that is that. It's built like a tank. The engineering design is just genius, and I just couldn't be happier. So next time around, we'll actually, plug some modules in and see if they work. So now that we have the case out of the way, it's time to start thinking about what we're going to put in it. On the next video in this series, we'll look at the large-scale functions of the instrument and their rough locations. Then, we will examine the fundamental heartbeat of the system, the various pulse streams that operate at different subdivisions of the beat, and how we might use them for different musical events and rhythms. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, if you like what we're doing here, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. What kind of cases do you have for your modular? Let us know in the comments section below. For now, this is Nick, signing off.